Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my god, every time.
Fuck every fucking time.
I left a
fucking
pregnant
time.
pause to let you get in first, and I feel you did the same thing, and here we are.
I guess we're too polite.
Mm-hmm.
We're too giving. We have to just take when we can.
Yeah.
Fuck. Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Ben.
And we are GamePunx. And this is, I think, the 30... I'm not sure what episode it is. It's the 30-something episode of GamePunx. And it's going to be a good one, because I've been playing many videos game.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of really cool news to talk about. Some really cool shit happened. Also some kind of fucked up shit. But mostly pretty cool shit.
Yeah, looking at you, Burger
There's always
King.
fucked up shit. Yeah, that was fucking weird.
It was really funny. I laughed really, really hard. I could not
When I saw that, I actually kind of didn't believe it, yeah. I thought it was like a troll post.
I thought like they got
somebody...
hacked, and then I clicked on it, and they were like explaining it, and I was like, oh my god,
Women
this is
belong...
the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Women belong in the kitchen. No, wait, not that way! Yeah. Some funny ass shit happened this week. The fucking Mumford & Sons guy being like, congratulations, Andy No, on your book.
I feel like that was a long time ago. I feel like that was almost plus a month ago. I feel like I saw that story a long time ago, and we just never got into it.
I think it just happened like a week ago.
Really? Because I swear I saw that headline like a month ago.
But
it could have been a
super
fucking
funny.
Month. Yeah. Way to go.
Either way.
Way to go, Hitler.
It makes me feel vindicated in my opinions on Mumford & Sons having always been, wow, these guys are cosplaying Bluegrass, this sucks.
Like if you were like, hey, way to go, Hitler, on Mein Kampf.
Pretty
much. Did it.
Pretty
like,
much.
What?
Way to go, Andy No. On what part of Andy No's career? The part where he like submitted kill lists featuring the names of prominent anti-fascist activists to Atomwaffen. Is that the part that you're congratulating him on?
No,
like,
the other
you
parts,
fucking asshole.
The other
Oh, what about how he lied about being beaten in the streets of Portland?
Yeah, that one. That's the one.
You could just say, no, I meant this one, and we could go on for hours. The dude is a fucking grifting liar.
I know.
He doesn't even live in the fucking United States, but he acts like he's the #1 American fascist Proud Boy dude. He lives in like fucking Singapore. Fuck off. So funny. That guy's a fucking loser. Anyway, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Bravely Default 2, because guess what? Some games came out the other week, and I bought both of them. I got Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury.
Super Mario!
And I got... Super Mario, all that shit's coming off of the Switch soon, so you better play your Mario while you fucking can, guys, because Nintendo's gonna come and grab it away from you.
The Switch Pro came out, like I called, and I was like, well, I'm glad we didn't get a normal Switch. But I'm also very upset that now I have to save up money for a more expensive Switch.
Yeah, it's gonna be some shit, but I mean, it's not functionally that different from a regular Switch. It's just a little faster.
Well, yeah, but you might be able to play Age of Calamity at a frame rate higher than like 10, which would be nice.
You know, I think the frame rate problems with that game are overstated, because I have not had many problems.
Are you playing on your TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
I play my Switch pretty exclusively on my TV now.
If it's in your hands, it like dies.
I mean, that's pretty funny, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll see where that goes. But at any rate, and I also bought Bravely Default 2, because I think we've been speaking about it on the show ever since they announced it, and it was a pretty kind of out of nowhere announcement.
Yeah, I was,
and we're both we both have a history with that series, and have our fair share of criticisms and like
I'd say overall
many good memories
positive.
of it. Yeah, same. Both of us, I'd say, pretty much overall positive view on those games. So I'm excited to say that 2 is just as good as I want it to be, if not even slightly better. A lot of stuff that I could say about 2 right off the bat that I enjoy. The grinding is even easier than in the previous Bravely games, which is saying something, because just by virtue of the Brave and default battle system existing as it is, grinding is super quick. Like, it's literally just a matter of braving your characters 4 times each and taking out the enemy party really fucking fast. And then all the strategy in combat really comes when you're kind of fighting a boss, right?
So, like, I need you to explain the, like, system that you talked about on Twitter where you can, like, link random encounters, I guess?
Yes. So basically what happens is in the game, occasionally you'll encounter a linked random encounter between 2 enemies. So you have the opportunity to strike first in these in any random encounter, and and I say random encounters, they're not random anymore. All enemies appear on screen on the field in real time.
That's good.
So you have the ability to run away from them or to engage them directly. Yeah. So that already is a plus.
So it's kind of hitting that Persona 4.
Exactly, and once you're like higher level than the monsters in a given area, they will actually run away from you. So you have to hunt them down to get
straight
them
up is the Persona like 3 thing where the shadows.
I mean, this is present in Dragon Quest XI too. It's present in most modern JRPGs at this point.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm just going off of my experiences, I guess. That's like the only one that
it's the same deal in Dragon Quest VIII as well.
Yeah,
but which is a game from like 2002, but. Basically, ever since 3D RPGs happened, this has been like a thing that's been steadily being kind of incorporated. But it's most good in situations like this where you can exploit it for grinding, which is why it's super helpful in this game that when you encounter enemies on the field, sometimes 2 enemies will encounter you at once, or an enemy who's nearby will engage after the enemy that you've engaged is defeated. So random encounters with enemies can become linked, and you can chain them together to basically boost the amount of job points that you level up. So it makes leveling up each individual job really, really, really easy, which is good for the game because there are a fuck ton of jobs, and every job has to be has like a max of 12 levels. So you have to grind out those jobs a lot if you want to master them and get all their most helpful abilities to build your characters as perfectly as you can. And it's super, super helpful because not only are these linked random encounters easy to activate just on the field in general, like basically if you like strike first on an enemy that's basically right next to another one, the encounter will become a linked encounter instantly by at least 2 or 3. But if you use certain items that you're granted by defeating enemies to lure certain types of enemies into encounters, so aquatic enemies, humanoid enemies, beast enemies, whatever, there's an item for each enemy type, and if you use that item, you basically can link encounters for 5 or 6 times in a row, and each linked encounter has the potential to be of at least 6 different random encounters in one battle. So
okay.
I keep calling them random encounters. Yeah, well, they're not random.
Yeah.
But basically, it makes grinding out job points so fucking buttery smooth and nice, which is why I can come to you today and also talk about how many of the jobs I have and how many I've already mastered just by virtue of having played maybe about 35 hours total of the game, which is not a lot.
For Bravely
35 hours
games,
into a Bravely game is nothing. That's like I'm in chapter 3 of the game. I have a fuck ton of jobs, over 10 jobs for sure. And each job in the game has just such a fucking solid set of abilities. They each have 12 battle specific commands, or around 12 plus 2 kind of passive effects that you can flip onto the character to give them specific commands. So the things that you can custom. Yeah, they each have usually at least 1 or 2 of those, and then 10 or so commands for battle. And it is so fucking fun making those jobs just work to your favor, because I've been able to build such a strong party so early on in the game. And something I've loved about the Bravely game since the first one is that the devs aren't afraid to let you break the game. Just by finding really clever and interesting combinations, you are just so able to break the game.
Yeah.
And it's really, really fun.
That was it
makes battles fun.
About the first one too, was just I put these jobs because I think the costumes are cute, but I am embodying everything.
Like I gotta say, when I figured out in the first Bravely Default game that you could link the vampire job and the Dark Knight job to basically make an unstoppable tank.
Just a fucking powerhouse.
Because the Dark Knight job, for those who aren't aware, every special ability you have does a lot of damage, but eats your HP as opposed to your MP.
But the damage you deal as a vampire also heals you.
Yeah, exactly. So you just are fucking dealing damage again and again and again, and then having attacks that take your... It's
kind of like having Blade Master.
It's so broken.
Someone who has Blade Master and Ninja.
Yeah, they're fucked. The enemies are fucked.
Woof.
They're fucked. Another one that I always loved was like Templar and White Mage.
Yeah, that's
because you're the ultimate like healing cleric tank.
Yeah, that's who I had. God, what's her name? The blonde one.
Idea.
Yeah, I had Idea as that for like I think most of my playtime.
So good. So some of the fun jobs that I've been goofing around with in the game so far most of these I've mastered. There's only one that I've gotten, or two or three that I've gotten that I haven't like fully leveled yet, but they're like at level 10. Beastmaster, which basically is Pokemon Trainer.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you use the job is it's basically centered around dealing enough damage to enemies to get them down to like 1 HP, but not enough to kill them. And then using the capture command to capture them like a Pokemon. And then you have a one-time summon of that enemy for however times you capture that type of enemy. So it basically is you're building up a party of summons, and then all the passive abilities that you can equip to the character that are leveled and obtained as you level the job up are all centered around being better with the job's primary weapon, which is a spear. Or improving the character's stats based on how many monsters you've captured. So it's like super fun. It's so fun to just go into a random encounter, whittle enemy HP down to just like 1 or 2, and then to catch him. Or there's like one that's like up the capture rate by 30%. So you don't have to whittle them down to just 1 HP every time. But so fun to use and super easy to use too. Like one of the best, most easy like classes I've ever played in an RPG that's centered around enemy manipulation and control.
Mm-hmm.
So and literally every enemy when you have them is like having a unique summon. It's so fun.
That's really cool.
It's so fun. And it's a summon that doesn't cost MP, because when you use the off the leash command, which is how you use the summon, it doesn't take away MP. There's a whole ass passive ability for that,
like a battle point, right?
It counts as a battle point, but it doesn't count as MP loss.
Okay, cool. Because it would be captured,
so fun.
So it wouldn't be magic.
They've really made Red Mage like so much more useful too in this game.
Oh yeah, because Red Mage was like nothing.
Red Mage is kind of like a boring job in the other Bravely games. In this game, basically they're entirely centered around dealing wind magic and earth magic. But they also have a bunch of really helpful abilities that help like enhance a magic caster's like chances of hitting a critical with a spell. Or there's an ability that they get at the final point when you've leveled them up fully called Revenge, which basically means you automatically cast whatever spell you cast twice, and the second cast is no XP cost. So you could stack 8 spells a fucking turn. That's nuts. It's nuts. It's like, so if you're casting so my character that I have it equipped to Elvis, who's the character I use as my mage, as my offense mage. And his moveset is he has the full Black Mage moveset as his sub-job, fully upgraded Black Mage, but he's primarily a Red Mage. And so he's got every kind of elemental magic, plus he has all the Black Mage like passive abilities, which are built around kind of increasing how little and how much MP you use, and if it's nighttime, powering up your spells by like a certain percentage. Yeah. But another super helpful thing that the Red Mage ability does is, because he has all the Black Mage abilities, there's a Red Mage passive ability that basically allows every kind of elemental magic spell cast by somebody equipped with the job to have a status effect. So every unique elemental magic spell, like Fyra, and Blizzaga, Thundera, all of those plus Eroga and Stonega, all of those spells have a status effect that they can cause now.
Oh.
So it's literally like making him a debuffer and an offensive mage at the same time. He's really broken. Really He's so strong. Cool. He's so strong. It's a really, really, really cool thing that you can do with this game is just playing around. My other characters, like the main character of the game is Seth. Like he's the primary, I guess he's the Tiz of the game.
Yeah.
And Seth's deal is that I've made him kind of like my primary tank class, but he is a shield master, which is pretty much like a Templar.
Mm-hmm.
And the shield master alongside the Vanguard, which is like the knight. So his entire purpose is to basically defend my party from any damage and just to soak up damage. So while the rest of my party has like somewhere in the realm of 4,000 to 4,500 HP, he has like 7,000 closing on an 8,000 hit points because of the way that I've equipped him and built him. So he is a fucking damage sponge. So I just throw him on defend every time, and I just have him defend every member of the party for each turn that he goes. And he is, like I said, a total damage sponge. But he also has certain abilities that I equipped because I had him as the Barbarian class prior. And the Barbarian's abilities are all built around, berserking the character to make them go super crazy and just turn them into like a fucking monster of a tank.
Yeah, just like a murder machine.
Yeah, and one of the passive abilities you get is the ability to make every standard attack that you do just target all enemies at once. So he is an axe-wielding shield master with most of the knight like Vanguard abilities and the ability to just defend any character if somebody comes for them. But he also has the ability to strike all enemies on the field at once with just a standard attack. So he's so fucking strong.
Yeah, that's because the all enemy attacks were always the ones where you were like, well, that's a problem solver.
Yeah. Like the other class I'm playing around right now, and it's the class that the character of the game I made, the Beastmaster, Adele.
Yeah.
I've set her primary class now to Pictomancer and her subclass to the Beastmaster. But the Pictomancer is effectively built around making the enemy weaker to elemental magic, and then they also have light and dark elemental magic spells as you go down the line.
Okay.
But basically, I've made it so that if there's ever any enemies that I'm fighting against that are hyper susceptible to elemental magic, they are fucked because you hit them with the spatter command, which is basically makes them like 10% weaker to any elemental magic at all, even ones that they're strong to.
Yeah.
So basically brings their resistance down if they have any resistance at all, or if they absorb magic, they won't absorb it anymore. And then using other paint related abilities to basically remove their strength against all kinds of magic and all kinds of physical attacks.
Yeah. So
I'm having her daub the enemy, and then I'm hitting them with the stacked 8 magic spells, while my party is perfectly protected by Seth, who we can just defend all of them. And then the other character that I have off to the side, her, Gloria, she's like the kind of the Agnes of the game. I've made her a ranger / white mage, so she has all the strongest healing magic in the game. Plus, she has the ability to specifically target any type of enemy with the ranger's abilities that are like, bug hunter, aquatic hunter, all of these. So she can just specifically deal heavy damage to certain types of enemies and just fuck shit up. So I've built a really strong party within 35 hours of the game with jobs that I have only, just received recently, but that I've grinded really quickly because of this great grinding. So I'm having a fucking hell of a time.
That's fucking
if you can't tell by the sound of my voice,
no, like,
this game is like
I'm a little salty that I'm not playing it right now, because I was just thinking the other day before we even talked about Bravely Default 2, I was like, oh man, like I kind of want to go back to Bravely Default and maybe give it a second shot and try to power through that one part where I was like, fuck this. which I think we've talked about, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played Bravely Default 1 and wants to.
For all those who aren't aware, you have to do a specific thing 6 times over to get the real ending of the game, and the thing you have to do 6 times over is very tiresome.
Yeah. And I made it to once and realized what they were going to do, and I was like, no.
Yeah, Ben was just like, I ain't got time for this shit.
I think the worst part was I was like, all right, I'm at 80 hours. Oh,
fuck
that. No.
Remember those really difficult damage sponge bosses you had to fight at each crystal?
Yeah.
What if you fought them again? A lot more.
What if remember how bad it was the first time? What if it was worse?
Six times more. 6 times more, guy. Let's do it. I have to say the ending of that game is worth it, but it took me a long time to get there. But yeah, no, Bravely Default 2 is bringing me a lot of joy. Other criticisms I have of the game, or like commentary at all, I think it's a really pretty looking game. It's actually one of the nicest games I have on Switch right now in just terms of graphical fidelity. There's a little tiny bit of lag during battles, depending on like how many enemies are on screen at once, what kind of enemies they are, where you are environmentally in the game, because there's you know bloom effects and different lighting effects and shit. The dynamic lighting in the game is gorgeous. It reminds me of the lighting in Octopath Traveler, which is really amazing looking. But the game has more of a, and this will come up later in the episode, but a bit of more of a diorama kind of look to it. Everything kind of looks tangible. The texture is texture work is beautiful, and you know those great, how all the cities and towns are done in Bravely Default, where they're these beautiful painted kind of interactable pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah, like these weird 3D layered.
Like basically 3D layered pre-renders. Yeah. This is kind of what they've done for this game too, but because you have the advantage of it being on a console with much stronger hardware than the 3DS, it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like there's a city that I'm in right now called Rheintal or something. It's like this massive city entirely made of like stone staircases and huge mansion like homes. Mm-hmm. Like in a canyon. It's like in an icy canyon. So one side of the canyon is this beautiful like town that's like moving upwards on stairs, and then the opposite side is like this huge structure that they're doing some crazy shit in. It's such a beautiful looking town. It's like amazing. There was like another town that I was in that was kind of like a Middle Eastern Arab inspired area. And it had these beautiful castles with like domes and minarets and stuff like that, like a big mosque. And it was so beautiful, and it was entirely flooded. So they had like planks of wood bringing you to all the places that you were able to stand in over the flooded parts of the town. It's a really beautiful game. The characters are really fun. And kind of like the first Bravely Default game, a lot of the storytelling is done in the side quests and in those kind of character chats that you have in between shit, like the little, like quippy kind of chats that you have. So that's where like the bulk of, I think, a lot of the character development and storytelling happens. Well, the stories are a lot more like the characters get involved in a scenario. They solve the scenario and move on to the next one.
Okay.
But unlike the first Bravely Default, I feel that the tone of the story is a lot more serious. Like, not that the first Bravely Default isn't a game that's capable of being serious, but it's kind of fluffy in parts too.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and this
like tonally overall, Bravely Default is like basically world-ending serious. So it's I mean, it's still pretty bad.
So this is even more serious because the situations, you know that whole storyline in the first game where you go to that beautiful flower city, and
yes.
The whole story is about getting Agnes to wear the stupid dress.
Yeah, it's basically the fucking dress quest in FF7, but like less interesting by 1,000%.
It's not that. It's not that at all.
Yeah.
There's none of that in this game. This game does not have that sort of thing. There are some characters that offer light comic relief, but they're mostly in side quests. Like, you encounter them in the first chapter. I feel like those are the
bits of the first game that most people were like, this is...
Yeah, so they've I'd call that basically like them trimming the fat on the story.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. The shit that is in this game, it hits hard. I can tell that the devs over in Japan were probably watching a lot of, like, I'm not going to call it Berserk, but, like, just dark fantasy in general. Stuff like The Witcher, stuff like Game of Thrones. Fantasy that's a little more, harder edged. Because this game has a bit of an edge to it. And I don't mean that derisively and, like, this game is edgy. I mean that the storylines that they're telling and, like, the things that they're tackling in this game, they hit pretty hard at times. Like, some of the subject matter is actually kind of fucked up. The one that kind of fucked with me the most, and this is mild spoilers. I won't get into how it's resolved, but one of the storylines early on in the game involves you helping basically move a family past the grief of losing their daughter in an accident.
Woof.
And it's really sad, because all the time before you meet these characters, Elvis is talking them up as like, oh, they're real lovebirds. They're so good for one another. I basically, like, seeing this couple made me believe love was real kind of shit. And seeing how, like, the loss of their child collectively not only ruined their relationship, but just, like, brought them both so low. It's really sad. It's really fucking sad. And I was kind of like, man, this is upsetting. Like, I felt upset by that. And there's some other shit in the series too that's kind of one of the plots, I won't specify which, involves patricide, which is really also kind of an upsetting subject if you're not somebody who thinks killing your dad is a thing you should do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fucked up. The game just tonally is overall feels very dark to me, darker than the other games. Like I said, not that there aren't moments of levity, but, like, even the motivations for a lot of the villainous characters, I feel like in the first Bravely Default, and to an extent even in Bravely Second, all of the asterisk holders, so, like, the people you get the jobs from, all of those characters, for the most part, with the exception of a handful of them, are objectively heroic characters who are doing something they believe to be the right thing.
Yeah.
But are, their methods are what you are, questioning.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of characters in the first two games that I'd say are outright evil. Like, just genuinely evil, fucking foul people that should be murdered.
And I think that might be the fucking red mage lady. The, like, little...
Oh, the little bitch. Yeah, her. Veronica, she's one of them. Or Victoria, sorry. And then Victor, the guy with her, who's like... Please excuse her. She's committing war crimes because she's traumatized.
Yeah, who, when you kill Victoria, delivers the best, like, line read I think I've heard in years.
Yeah, he was really pissed.
Yeah, he's like, you kill Victoria,
that sounded
and
fucking raw.
It was like a real, like, they actually shot someone named Victoria in front of him in the fucking booth.
Like, literally a blood-curdling, harrowing shriek of anguish and pain. It was really, really awful.
Fuck that fight, though.
Yeah, that fight sucks, because their abilities work so well in tandem together, those motherfuckers. Yeah. But, yeah, or like the guy who was like the one who was like a salve maker, and he just committed fucking genocide, like that guy, he sucks.
Whoops.
But for the most part, all the characters in that game, like I said, with the exception of a handful, are very, like, heroic characters who are just being, led astray or doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, But in this game, not the case at all. Almost every single asterisk holder I've fought in the game, with the exception of 2 or 3, are just downright the most fucking despicable, horrible people you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Exploitative, sick motherfuckers who are just out to fuck with people and hurt them. And it's really, really like, damn, dude. Like, you are a piece of shit. I can't wait to fucking kill you. Like, you need to be eliminated.
Yeah, this isn't one of those,
which is great.
This isn't one of those, like, oh,
there's gray morality.
Yeah, we can maybe excuse this.
There's, as far as I played so far, I have not encountered a single major antagonist whose, like, you know, motivations were even, like, remotely understandable. They're just, like, uncomplicated in how evil they are. But I also kind of appreciate it, because at this point I'm not really looking for ambiguity in my villains. I think we've had, like, a lot of media over the last couple of years that deals with antagonistic characters with ambiguous morals, and I'm so kind of done with it.
I'm still playing a Yakuza game, so yeah, I can understand your frustration.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So, like, so sometimes you just want a fucking bastard to kill, and this game has given me plenty of bastards to kill. So I appreciate it. It reminds me a little bit of Tales of Vesperia in that sense, where there's not a lot of room for gray morality in this world, because some people are just downright evil and should be killed because all their existence does is prolong the suffering of others. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's kind of the vibe I get from this game. Like, some of these characters are just objectively fucking evil and need to be taken out for the greater good. And yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, it's a really great game so far. I'll talk more about it next week as I continue to break the game with how many job combinations I can find. But as of now, really, really excellent RPG. I'm hoping to see the story do a little bit more as we move on, but I'm in Chapter 3 of a game that I presume is far, far longer than 3 chapters. So we'll see where I go from here. But as of now, really cool. The storyline I'm currently doing in the game is super interesting. It's all about basically somebody establishing a violent theocracy and subjugating its people through through the use of religion and, you know, using it to enact witch hunts on a paranoid and like terrified population. Mm-hmm. So really, really, really interesting little thing that you should definitely stop from happening because it's fucking shit up really bad. But yeah, it's good. And I will say one more thing. Every character in this game is voiced by actors from, I believe, mostly the UK. Like, it's, I think, the dub company that does work on, like, the Xenoblade games. So there are a couple of accent tourists in this.
Oh, no.
But for the most part, it's actually really works for their character. I won't spoil why, but for some of them it makes sense. And Elvis, the character who you have mostly in the party as, like, the main character with a funny accent, he's very Scottish.
Okay.
Even he sounds almost Shrek Mike Myers Scottish, but then I looked up the voice actor and the VA is actually Scottish from Scotland.
Nice.
So he just really do sound like that, and you know what? Fucking awesome. I'm down with it. Yeah. He's very cute too. Elvis is by far my favorite party member. He's just full of personality. And he's like he's the first character you have in the party that's, like, defined by being a mage, but he's like a mage who's traveling around the world. He's kind of the game's Ring-a-Bell.
Yeah.
If Ring-a-Bell was a mage, he's traveling around the world to fill out a journal that he has that was given to him by his master who died and passed it on to him. And the journal reacts to asterisks whenever you collect them and reveals more about the nature of how the asterisks were formed, but also about the asterisk holders and what deeds they committed while using the asterisk. I think the asterisks in general play a lot bigger of a role within the narrative of the game and within the mechanics of the world you're in. Like, they are treated like magical artifacts that have, like, kind of weird unknown powers. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's pretty interesting seeing them use that as part of the story. Whereas the crystals are a little less of a focus in the story. You're still searching for the crystals, and you are, like, the warriors of light.
Yeah, but it's not the story.
Yeah, like, you're not purifying the crystals from evil. You're basically finding the crystals because they were stolen from the kingdom that they are originally in, and finding out who has them and how they're exploiting that crystal to fuck the environment up in that area.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, there's in the town where they have the water crystal, it flooded the town. like abuse of the water crystal made the town just flood.
Well, I'm glad that we finally have a apolitical JRPG.
Yeah, completely apolitical game. Definitely no politics in Bravely Default 2. Not a single politic. Not a single one.
There isn't a tick to Paul in this entire game.
Man, not a single tick to Paul. What about you, Ben? What have you been playing? I want to hear about what you've been up to.
Honestly, I think I started Hollow Knight again, so I'll start with the good one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start with the good one.
Yeah.
I started Hollow Knight again on my own time. I'm not streaming it or anything. I'm just playing it kind of by myself, along with like Stardew Valley and fighting games, obviously. It's a very good game. I forgot how amazing of a Metroidvania it is. The music's amazing. The environments are super cool. The art style is adorable. It's all around a perfect game. I think we talked about it the first time I played through it, or started playing through it, because I never finished it. Nothing but praise for that game.
And it's so beautiful
it is.
To look at. Looking at that game is almost as good as playing it. It's one of those things.
It's definitely more beautiful than Life is Strange, Episode 1.
Okay, yeah, so let's hear about Life is Strange.
I don't know how you write a character so detestably, immediately.
Oh boy, so who are we talking about here?
Who aren't we talking? All of them. There's not a single character so far.
Chloe, Max, the whole gang, they're
Max,
all motherfuckers.
Max, there's one point where there's a bunch of missing posters for one girl, everywhere, and you just kind of go up to them and read them or whatever, and Max is like, okay, we get it, God. And it's Max, the person is missing.
Yeah,
this is a missing human being.
They're probably dead.
They could be dead.
That's fucked up.
What are you doing? Chloe's just a fucking... Ugh.
Well, am I wrong to assume the way they play Chloe out is she's kind of what every white dude wants their ideal girlfriend to be?
Not really, I guess.
Okay.
She's a poser punk, right? Where she's I'm rebelling against this and that. So she parks in a handicap space, in two handicap spaces, diagonally. So it blocks two spaces off with her truck.
Fuck.
Yeah, but she's punk though, and you're
not punk enough to ride a bike, apparently.
And I called the school shooter thing. I jokingly was oh, that's the school shooter. And not 5 seconds later, he pulls a gun out.
No
and
way.
I was wow. Yeah, I'm working on the video right now. I'm
Jesus Christ.
I'm looking for a specific That's So Raven flashback, but it's very hard to find because there's 47 minutes of That's So Raven flashbacks.
Oh my god.
And my YouTube to MP3 site, or to MP4 site, has been taken down, and I don't trust the other one, so I'm waiting for it to come back up.
Okay.
But yeah, the game is super weirdly written. There's the rewind mechanic is strange because there's some things...
It's strange, you say?
Yeah, the rewind mechanic is strange is what they should have called the game.
Some would say life.
I saw
strange,
a girl get hit in the back of a head with a football, but I have a rewind, so I could just catch the football, but it won't let me. But then if I fuck up some other interaction and someone hates me now because I fucked up, I just rewind and it didn't happen, and I'm
so you're perpetually shit at football, is what you're saying?
Well, I literally put Max in between the person and the football so Max would get hit, and it just goes right through her. And you're well, DONTNOD, why did you give me a rewind mechanic if I can't stop horrible things from happening?
I guess Max is the Charlie Brown of her universe.
But there's only that's the thing that bothers me though. It's just oh, it's so full of choices, and it's no, it's not. I can do all these choices, but I have to rewind and pick the right one.
You can only make the choices the devs want you to.
It's literally
only the choices they've accounted for.
It's time consuming and super lazy writing too. Nothing so far that's happened, I've been oh no, even the school shooting thing, he shoots Chloe, and I just rewound it and watched Chloe get shot 20 times because I was you gave me a rewind mechanic. What did you... No, this doesn't matter.
You give me a rewind mechanic, and then you presented me with Chloe. What the fuck am I supposed to do when this happens?
Like,
Jesus Christ.
I think the weirdest thing, well, maybe not the weirdest thing, but like you go and tell the principal, you're like, hey, this kid has a gun, by the way, because you stopped the shooting from happening finally.
Okay.
And the principal's like, oh,
this isn't realistic because in America the shootings don't stop.
Well, it's because he only shoots Chloe, and then you rewind time, and then you go and...
Wow, he only shoots fucking Chloe?
Yeah.
How convenient for the story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fuck
and then
me.
you tell the principal, right, and he's like, oh, I'll talk to him about it after. And it's like, he has a gun, dude, at a college. What are you doing?
Christ.
And then he comes and, like, assaults you in the fucking parking lot. And you're like, wow.
Jesus.
And then you go to Chloe's house, and it's revealed that she also has a gun that she stole from her stepdad.
Aren't you all in, like, the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, and you're just like...
Doesn't everybody have a fucking gun there?
She stole it from her stepdad. Not in college, they shouldn't, I don't think.
I guess not in fucking college.
And
I mean, you could probably legally own one.
Bring it to college, but whatever.
No, you should not bring it to school. That's bad. Yeah, don't do that.
But it's just like, this is so... weird and like strangely written. It's super funny.
I mean, I watched that clip that you posted.
Oh yeah,
on
where I
your
put the
YouTube
Kimba
account.
music.
Yeah, turn that punk shit off. Is that punk shit? Is that what that sounded like?
Oh no, that was me. I put that music in because I had to mute the actual music that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't in game.
No.
Oh,
but I'm really glad that it
playing
confused
in game?
you. I'm really glad that it worked.
Okay. That's really funny. What were they playing in game?
I don't know. I couldn't listen to it because I was streaming it, and if I fucking listened to it, my stream would have gotten shut down by the DMCA bots.
Holy shit! So we can just pretend they were listening to like Puny Melt or whatever.
It was the Kimba theme song from the
the
anime. I think.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Turn that punk shit off.
Stereo's not even
funny.
on, dude. It's like, it was, though. You're lying. Like, that's the thing. It's just like, it's not even on. God, what an asshole. And it's like, well, you were blasting the music. Like, you were actually doing
Is this
that.
your dorm mate or something?
No, this is when you go to Chloe's house after she saves you
her
from
real house.
from the school shooter assaulting you in the parking lot after you saved her. It's so weird.
Thanks for saving me from this shooter. Let's jump up on my bed.
Yeah, like don't
Teen
play this
movie
game.
moment.
I'm doing it because the video editing process is pretty fun, and I'm adding a lot of good kooky shit in there. But like, don't nod. What are you doing? They shit out games really quick.
They've not been nodding. That's what we know.
They shit out games real quick too. Like they have way more. I thought they only had Life is Strange 1 and 2, but they have like Double Mirror or something. Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, they have Captain Spirit. They've got
they have
that other
Tell
one.
Me Why.
Tell Me Why, which I hear is pretty good actually.
I'm
gonna have to check that one out. I know that episode 1 of Tell Me Why is free, so
I saw the whole playthrough. It's
not that good.
It's kind of the same thing where there's not really any gameplay. The story is super like meh.
Twee.
Like the main catch of Tell Me Why is you're playing a trans man.
I mean, that's cool, I guess, but I don't want that to be the whole game.
It's basically the whole
although
plot.
I will say I'm happy for all the trans men who finally have some kind of representation in media, because damn, do y'all not have any at all, not even a little bit. So that's pretty good. But and I respect, I guess, their efforts to actually cast a trans male actor to play the character.
Yeah,
too.
but this are you gonna play it, or should I?
No.
Well, the story goes, well, you're trying to figure out what happened to your mom because your mom gets killed. And then, like, their superpower is basically their memory, except they can't remember anything, even though they were both there the night that it happened. And, like, there's, like, 3 different versions of the story. And one of them is, your mom was trying to kill you because you are trans. And your sister stabs your mom so she doesn't shoot you.
Cool.
And you're just like, yeah, this is...
I don't need any trauma porn.
Yeah. It's basically all it is, and they can't remember it because they're traumatized because like the sister stabs the mom, or in like one of them, it's not even the sister that stabs the mom; it's some like random fucking guy. It's it's just so. Ugh. Just watch just watch YouTube if you want to. Don't give them money. Don't even download the free thing because it gives them like a number, right? It'll give them a tick.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them any more ticks. I think I'm going to play Life is Strange 1, but I don't think I'm going to go any further. I know what happens in Life is Strange 2. Life is Strange 1 is the only one that I'm blind to, so like that's why I was like, this will be funny. Because I've heard a lot of people be like, oh no, it's really good. Like, I really like the writing and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What writing?
I heard the prequel was much better in terms of its actual writing.
I saw the first 5 minutes of the prequel, the like before the storm thing, and you're playing as Chloe, and she's immediately detestable.
Because I think it was Neve from Let's Fight a Boss, Fall Dogs on Twitter. She was talking about on her podcast about that, and she was like, Life is Strange is like basically like basically like you play it so you can play Before the Storm. That's what she said.
Oh, okay. Well, so, I'll play Before the Storm too, because that also
apparently Before the Storm is a worthwhile game.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna vouch for that because it's not my opinion. Yeah. But I've heard people whose people whose perspectives I find valuable have spoken fondly of it. Yeah. So I'm inclined to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Part 1 is that like that's why I even wanted to look at it, as people whose opinions I value are like, I like this game. I'm like, I don't get it.
Maybe they haven't actually played too many adventure games like that before. And so it's kind of like, on top of it being a different gameplay experience for them, they don't see stories like that told.
I didn't even mention there's this weird bug on, like, I think it's my files of the game where the interactable objects you're supposed to see everywhere, and you walk up to them and then it like gives you a prompt, but I can only see the interact menu through Max's body. So I have to like walk around the room hugging everything and moving the camera up and down to make sure what's huggable. Because I got some weird bug immediately, like on launch. It was the first time playing it, and I was like, this can't be how the menu actually is. And I streamed it, I think, 3 different times now. Funny. And it's still there. Fuck. So I have to like validate my files. I even went to go see other people's like starts of like episode 1 just to be like, this can't be how the menu actually is. Like that's
actually the funniest visual you could have given me for that.
It's so fucking weird, and it's gonna be in the video. And there's like even one part, Ditto was there actually, where I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and like I looked down, and like, Ditto was like, "Oh, do you want help?" And I was like, "Oh, I found it." But like, it took me like 15 minutes to be like, "Oh, I have to look down to be able to see the interact button on the paint can." All this and more in the video.
Not here for it. Not here for it.
Yeah, I think the menu bug, is not helping my perception of the game at all.
Yeah, that's gonna color your opinion though. I only encountered one bug so far in Bravely Default 2, and it was just kind of a funny bug that immediately stopped being a problem when I restarted the game. So it's not a huge issue. But basically, when I went into one of the towns, and into one of the houses in the town, and you know how it's supposed to like pan in on what it looks like inside the house? It was just like when you play Bravely Default, like you go into a house, and it's like it zooms in a little bit, and it kind of like letterboxes around the house. It didn't do that. It just zoomed in on the house, but it didn't show me in the house, and I could still run around in the house. So it was just like house.
You should have shared that. That's pretty good.
It was pretty funny. I should have taken video of it just to have a laugh, but I totally slipped my mind in the moment to do that. It was pretty funny. It's like, I'm going in house. But here it is, house.
If not, what else? But, I want to talk about one movie that I watched, and I watched this like
I want to hear all
3
about
weeks
it.
ago now.
Let's do it. I have one TV to talk about.
And my lovely partner watched Shook, which is the newest jaunt into the what I would have to call like social media horror.
Yeah. You're unfriended.
Yeah, you're unfriended, and you're the glitch typed or whatever. Anyway, this one actually does it pretty good. It does a lot of visually interesting things. Like the messages will pop up on the wall, or there'll be like a projector projecting what's on her phone so that you can see it, but also have like the static shot of her just staring at her phone.
Okay.
It's very like
cool.
It's literally, I would say it's probably one of the more experimental movies that I've seen in a really long time, and I think it did a lot of interesting things. Yeah, it was really cool. It misses the mark. Sometimes you're just kind of like, this is weird and like jarring and a little too much, but I appreciate what they went for. Yeah, exactly. Like at least they had a visual idea and you could see what they were going for, and I think it was the most interesting way to do one of these movies, especially since all the like Unfriendeds and whatever's else it kind of dropped the ball.
I'm trying to think of some of those other recent ones that I've seen. Yeah,
I think Unfriended's a standout one because all the other ones are just Unfriended. Like they follow the exact same fucking formula,
it's the same kind of format
where everyone
it's found
illogically
video call.
Everyone illogically brings their fucking laptop everywhere, even though creepy shit's happen. It's like you would just leave. Like anyway, but this one does it pretty.
I feel
good.
like you could probably make a good Unfriended style movie set during COVID times.
Yeah,
because everybody is actually realistically at their laptop.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, if someone's like trying to murder you, you're not gonna take your laptop in the closet to hide with you.
No, I would certainly close that shit and not open it again.
Yeah. But anyway, this one does it really good. There's like a kind of fun twist, sort of a little bit predictable at a certain point, but overall really good. It's a Shudder exclusive, I think. It's in-house Shudder produced. It's really cool.
Okay.
Like
Shudder, hey, they're good with their fucking exclusives.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
show.
I would not.
They got that fucking Creep Show, which rules.
They do. I would not by any means consider it a waste of time. I wouldn't say it's like the greatest thing to ever happen. I think it's a very fun watch. The story...
It sounds like something that I could definitely kill like an hour.
Yeah, the story kind of keeps you guessing, and like it does keep you on your toes up to a certain point. But even then, like after you've kind of figured it out, it still does some like kind of fun, goofy things. Except for the end, like the before cut to black was kind of just like, oh yeah, I guess you had to get one of those in there. Just like jump scare thing.
Well, sometimes you just gotta go with the trope.
Yeah, sometimes you do. But there's not that many jump scares in it, if I remember, and that was actually like one of the better points that me and Steph gave it. We were like, wow, good on them for like not like jump scaring into infinity. It just kind of tense.
Well, because it's so fucking easy otherwise, you know?
And it's not to say that there's not any, because there are a few, but like it's not every time I was like, oh, is there a jump scare? And it didn't happen. I was like, ooh, thank you.
I mean, part of the fun of having jump scares in your movie is to establish that precedent, but then to break that rule with the audience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that annoys me about jump scares, I would say mostly in modern things, is like jump scares that that the characters in the movie don't see, or make noises that aren't in universe in the movie. Like you'll have a huge musical sting because an eyeball is like behind a character, and you're like, wow. Did I jump? Yes, but it was because like you made a loud noise.
Yeah, like you did a cheap thing.
And it's just kind of like, this isn't scary. This is
a
normal reaction.
Kind of a
if someone screamed at you
out
of nowhere, like if you're just chilling in the metro and someone goes, ah, you're gonna fucking jump.
You're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but at least everyone around you also jumps. When you jump and the character doesn't see anything or doesn't jump, or like we're watching The Haunting of Blair Manor. or whatever.
Bly
Manor.
Yeah.
And that show does really good shit where there are obviously jump scares, but most of the super unsettling shit is actually super quiet, like background movements or things that are happening.
Yeah,
like,
it's subtle detail.
And there's not a musical sting to be like, oh, did you see it? Did you see it? Mm-hmm. It just kind of happens, and you're like, oh.
It's shit in the frame that draws your eye away from the characters ever so slightly to unsettle.
Yeah, and Haunting of Hill House did that really good too, which I think was one of the phrases that I.
That's same creators.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Makes sense.
It's the yeah. So like that's the thing. It's just like it's really cool when that happens, and it's not just like
hell yeah.
Big shadow moves in background, violins go squeak, and everyone goes huh.
So I did end up watching a new movie that came out this week, or last week, I should say, on Friday, and that was Raya and the Last Dragon, the new Disney movie.
Oh, there's a new Disney movie? I didn't even know.
It's a brand new 3D CG animated Disney movie. It's out on Disney Plus now. I, of course, did not watch it on Disney Plus. I used my less than legal means to do so. But I also don't need to give Disney $30 of my money. But it's called Raya, Raya and the Last Dragon.
Oh, Raya and the Last.
It is the most not Disney a Disney movie has felt in a long time, and I don't mean that in a derisive way. Like, I don't mean that in like a I resent Disney's house style kind of way. Like, thank God it was not like
this
Disney. But it's very good.
It looks like
spoiler-free review. I really liked it. I thought it was super fun.
Just looking at it, kind of like, obviously just from screenshots. I don't know anything that's going on, but it looks like a kind of like We're Sorry for Mulan.
It is not that either. It is the closest point of comparison, and the thing that everybody is comparing it to that immediately comes to mind is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is Disney trying to do their own kind of Avatar, in that it is a fantasy world based primarily on real life locations and real life cultures. In this case, Southeast Asian cultures, but it's revolving around a hero traveling with their companions to reawaken the dragons of their land so that they can stop a blight of like demonic evil from basically overtaking and destroying their land completely.
So what you're telling me is this is a prequel to Dark Souls 1.
There's a little bit of that dark fantasy Dark Souls kind of shit in there actually. But what this really felt like to me was a really great East Asian inspired one-shot D&D campaign.
Ooh.
This movie is a fantasy martial arts action movie. That is primarily what it is. There's a lot of good humor and a lot of good banter, but primarily it is the story of a small fantasy adventuring party going across from one little country in this land to another to get from point A to point B and stop this evil, like, demonic force from overtaking and blighting the land entirely. And it is really fun. The main character, Raya, is trying to reassemble pieces of a gem called the Dragon Gem. Basically, it's the Shikon Jewel from Inuyasha. It's what my friend Jera called it. But trying to reassemble this Dragon Gem in order to drive off these creatures, because the creatures have an aversion to dragon magic, and the Dragon Gem is the last remaining piece of draconic magic in their world.
Okay.
So it's the only thing that these creatures like literally have a physical aversion to. If you put it near them, they like move away from it, because it's kind of like this. It's not an intelligent demonic force. It's literally like a magical blight that acts like an intelligent creature. So it's just basically an unstoppable force of energy that only reacts primally to everything it encounters, either by destroying it or moving away from it. So it's a pretty all-encompassing antagonistic force, but the primary conflict of the story is not really driving away this force. It's getting everybody in this land, which is very separated by culture and histories of war and greed, to collaborate together in order to reassemble this jewel and fix this blight from, preventing it from overtaking their world. So it's getting a bunch of cultures that resent one another and have, like, bloodied, storied histories with each other to put aside their differences, forgive one another, and actually work together for the greater good of all of humanity, lest they all be destroyed. So it's a really, really interesting kind of conflict for a Disney movie. They don't have kind of reminds me of Moana, actually. Moana is the closest another Disney movie comes to this, where the antagonist isn't necessarily a single figure or a figure who looms large over the movie, but instead, the characters bickering with one another is the primary antagonist. Like, that's what's stopping them from actually achieving their goals the most, is like being unwilling to compromise for each other and work together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what goes on in this. But yeah, the main character, Raya, she's like a little girl whose father, who's played by Daniel Day Kim, and he has a very sexy voice and a very daddy-ass design in this movie. She's like the princess of her, I guess her kingdom. I guess it's technically some kind of kingdom. But when she's a little kid, their kingdom, they call them the Heart Tribe, they're the protectors of the Dragon Gem, but the other kingdoms basically are invited over for essentially like a peace conference that's meant to kind of like close the door and bookend like their generations of hatred, greed, and war that they've had against one another. It's an act of good faith and an extending of the hand in terms of friendship.
Yeah.
And all of the other groups, due to misunderstanding, end up coming to a disagreement and fighting over the jewel, breaking it, and having this blight come back and overtake the land and separate everything completely. So now, like a couple of years later, the world is like a lot more desolate. These countries are more separated from each other than they ever have been. And the main character there, Raya, is now a young adult woman traveling kind of man with no name style to relocate the final the evidence of the final dragon who's still left in existence, Sisu. So she's traveled to every riverbank in this world, and the whole world is set around a huge river that's shaped like a dragon, and each tribe is named for whatever part of this dragon-shaped river they live near. So she's traveled up every estuary, every river to try and find like the last evidence of this dragon, and she finally finds her. And with this dragon, she's going to try and kind of reunite the tribes. Like, look, we have help. We have a dragon here who can help with her magic. Like, she wants Sisu to be the unifying force that gets everybody to trust each other and work together, because all of them revere the dragons as they were gods and heroes. So it's like the one thing everybody agrees on, basically. So it's a pretty unique thing. And over this adventure, she's coming to blows with her childhood rival, who is like the girl who is of the lead enemy tribe. They call them the Fang tribe.
Yeah.
She was like, she wanted to, her and Raya had a lot in common, and Raya wanted to be friends, but because she was used by her mother in a ploy to betray the Heart tribe, they have bad blood together now, because Raya basically thinks whatever friendship that could have happened between them was still just a lie. So she has trust issues, and she's very world weary, and her character in general is kind of like, everything is kind of fucked up, and I feel extremely burdened by my purpose. All I want to be able to do is reunite this world, but I feel like I can't do it, and I don't have faith in humanity. Mm-hmm. And Sisu, the dragon, on the other hand, her perspective is she's really naive, she's very giving, and she's very loving, and all she has to give other people is her kindness. And so it kind of brushes up against Raya's kind of general, not paranoia, but mistrust of other people, and like her general pessimism and cynicism about others. But the movie proves her wrong, of course, in the end. Like, people are more complicated than trustworthy or untrustworthy. People's motivations change. Some people do the wrong things for reasons that you might not find so objectionable, Like, acts of desperation sometimes are necessary, when it's you or death. So it's making these characters brush up against a lot of relatively morally complex conflicts for a Disney movie. And yeah, the tone is pretty cool. It ranges from like Raya kind of feeling like a bit of a cowboy character at first, rolling around on this giant steed she has that's kind of like an armadillo or a pillbug, where she's riding on a saddle and it's rolling, so it's like she's riding on like a big wheel, but it's got a saddle on it. It's kind of cool. It's a great visual. She's a sword fighter, so all of the martial arts in the movie are focused on like really, really beautifully animated hand-to-hand combat sequences that are all kind of coordinated and choreographed to real Southeast Asian martial arts like Pangkat Silat. So lots of really, really... and Muay Thai kickboxing and stuff like that. So lots of great fights. Basically, if you like took Moana and in its structure replaced every song with a beautifully animated fight scene, you'd kind of get a feel for what the structure of this movie is.
Okay.
It's basically swap out the songs for fight scenes is this Disney movie's ethos. And the fight scenes are beautiful. They're the highlight of the movie. The animation on them is unreal. The way these characters move and like the way that every blow feels like hard packed, and like the Foley design on like every slash of the sword, every clash of metal against armor, like it all sounds so good and looks so good. It feels good to watch. These fights feel real. So yeah, overall a really satisfying movie. Certainly not the tone I was expecting from a Disney movie, and I like the idea of it being characters gathering little party members as they go on, and all of these characters, slowly coming together to form a bit of a fellowship that is proof positive that these different tribes with different ideologies and motivations can collaborate and work together peacefully and achieve good shit without, coming to blows over petty fucking nonsense and greed. And I thought it's a good message to put out there. There's some stuff to be said in like the way the movie is cast, because it's highly in my knowledge and from what I've observed from a lot of Southeast Asian critics, highly accurate in how it depicts like different aspects of Southeast Asian cultures, and like the hyper specific levels of detail they go into, showing what these different groups of people eat, how all the food is different, how they all wear different kinds of clothes, and how each individual character in these different groups wears the clothes that are specific to the group that they're part of. Like, so every individual character looks pretty unique. There's a great deal of like body dimorphism in character design, so not everybody looks slim, but not everybody is like, it's not everybody is thin or fat. Like there's a great amount of realistic body proportions going on. The characters also look Asian, which is nice. Like they don't look kind of white anime-y, but they look recognizably like different groups of people from Southeast Asia. Groups of ethnicities with varying different appearances, so it makes sense that they would look different. But sometimes people say Southeast Asia and they treat the whole region as a monolith when it's one of the most ethnographically diverse places on Earth, and it's almost comparable to the continent of Africa in terms of just how ethnographically diverse it is. So getting these hyper-specific details about these different cultures they're taking influence from, right? All the different food, the clothing, all that shit's really impressive. And the martial arts, like I said, really impressive, and from what I understand, relatively respectful to the cultures. However, with the exception of a couple of actors, like one or two major voice actors, most of the cast of the movie is East Asian. So, like, Chinese as opposed to Southeast Asian, like Indonesian, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Thai. And I hear a lot of people are kind of disappointed by that. I'm obviously not the person to speak on that. I am fucking white with a capital fucking W. Like, really not an expert here when it comes to, saying what, Southeast Asian people should be looking for in representation. So, take whatever I say about it with a grain of salt. I recommend, if you want to hear any Southeast Asian critics talk about this, to seek them out. Plenty of them have a lot to say about the movie that is just simply stuff I can't speak on because it's not anything specific to my experiences, but as like generally as a film and as somebody who enjoys good children's fantasy movies, this is a good children's fantasy movie, and it's nice to watch a children's fantasy movie that's not deeply steeped in like, European fantasy aesthetics.
Yeah.
But to see something completely different and outside of that is nice. And I know that Disney has like an Afrofuturistic / Afro fantasy couple of projects coming up. Like they're doing Children of Blood and Bone, which is a really great Afro fantasy novel that I've read that I loved. And that's Lucasfilm is developing it as a TV series with allegedly the same level of technology and care they put into shit like The Mandalorian, which to me says it's going to have a very big budget.
Yeah.
And will be interesting to see how that goes. And then there's also an animated thing being developed at Disney. I believe it's a TV show. I don't think it's a movie, but it's an animated TV show developed by Walt Disney Animation Studios. So not their TV department, but their movie department. That's going to be like an Afro-futuristic sci-fi show. So like an animated one with like, shit that looks like Wakanda, or like, I don't know if you've ever read like The Ear, the Eye, and the Arm, or something by like Octavia E. Butler, but like that kind of Afro fantasy sci-fi, which seems pretty cool to me. So, if this is evidence of anything, it at least shows that like Disney is capable of telling like just a pure fantasy story, like not a fucking fairy tale, but something that feels like a fantasy novel for kids. And that's pretty awesome. It's nice to see that they're able to kind of break away from their comfort zone of doing a princess movie, a morality tale, kind of allegorical movie. Like this movie is heavy on the morality and heavy on allegory, but it's not Zootopia,
Yeah.
It's not that kind of movie. The way it tells its story, the genre it uses to deliver it, it doesn't feel very typical of Disney, and I appreciate that. So, Raya and the Last Dragon, good. That's my final say on that movie. I recommend you give it a watch. It's not even long. It's like an hour 20 minutes. It's like a perfectly gentlemanly length for an animated film.
I'm into it.
So yeah, good shit. Good shit.
Check that out.
Highly recommended. And don't pay for it, because Disney Plus is a stupid thing to pay for. Disney doesn't need your money.
No.
So we have a little bit of news here at the end to just lead with. The first thing first, I thought would excite you, being our resident Ninja Turtles super fan.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
Did you
this
see
morning.
this shit?
Yeah, I saw it this morning. I am skeptical.
Well, it's the same
excited.
crew that made Streets of Rage 4.
Is it? Because I thought it was the same crew that made the Scott Pilgrim game.
No, it's not. I don't believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's the people who made Flint Hook, Mercenary Kings, Streets of Rage 4, and Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap. Like that's the publisher.
That's the and the
developer, sorry, and the people who made are the people who made Mercenary Kings and Flint Hook.
And they also made Tribute Games. Also made Scott Pilgrim, which is super sketchy that they're not putting it on here. Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of like
told them not to. Okay.
So we'll see.
But hopefully it's good, because on first impression, visually, it looks a lot like they're trying to go for the aesthetic of Turtles in Time or the
which
arcade
is the
game.
one you want to go for. I was waiting the whole
if you want to do it. If you're gonna do a TMNT game, you should do it.
I was waiting for the whole trailer to for a screen throw, and they end the trailer with that. So I was like, okay, they know what they're doing. Yeah. This is
and the little reanimated version of the theme song they did was pretty cool. Yeah. I thought it was going to be for a TV show when I saw it, because it just was playing on Twitter, and you know how a video will just kind of start midway from where it
is.
Well, I mean,
like,
it's whenever
the whole like front half of that fucking trailer is just animation anyway.
Yeah, but I was looking at that and I'm like, whoa, is this like a new show or something? This looks
that's
great.
The thing. I saw it and like cool. I was like, okay, they're remaking it. Are they going to show gameplay at any point? Or because if this is just like an animated trailer to get people hype, I'm immediately skeptical.
Are they trying to upsell me on a game that doesn't exist?
Yeah, but then they showed gameplay at the end, and it looks pretty good. We'll have to see. I'm excited, but I'm looking from a distance.
It's good to be healthily skeptical of stuff like that, but who knows? Maybe it'll be like a new Transformers Devastation. Like, in terms of just capturing the vibe of the thing it's trying to capture.
Yeah, if they do anything that, like, if they capture... if the publisher makes tribute games capture what they captured in Streets of Rage 4, then it'll be perfect. But if they go the Scott Pilgrim route and there's not a lot of... To be fair, Turtles in Time never really had that much combo opportunity anyway, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of like, another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. Cool. This has gone horribly the last 7 times they have attempted this.
So you're feeling a little burnt.
Yeah, I'm just like... I'm excited.
I feel kind of bad. I wasn't fully aware of how bad the history of recent TMNT games was for you.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, there's the Platinum one.
Well,
there's the actual Turtles in Time remake.
I didn't even know that
bad.
Platinum one existed. Yeah, Turtles in Time remake was ass. I played that. That sucked.
Yeah.
That played like shit and looked like shit.
Yeah, which is why you're just kind of like, you know, I'm gonna let this come out. I'm gonna see what people say, and then I might check it out. But I'm glad that TMNT is not a thing that's like going away. I'm still waiting on a.
I mean, if Rise of the TMNT is anything to see for that show is super popular online and looks like a Trigger show.
Yeah.
So TMNT ain't going anywhere. No. I don't think
we got to bring Street Sharks.
And they're still got a Rise of the TMNT movie to come back. But, the fucking Street Sharks. God, Street Sharks is shit, but I would absolutely love to see what they could do with it.
They could make such.
Look what they did with Battletoads. Look what they fucking did with Battletoads.
They could make like a really.
They
good
could do that with Street
Sharks.
And they got to bring back Vin Diesel to do the narration for it or play a character or some shit. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he'd do it. He'd probably be like, "Yeah, let's fucking go."
His company,
just tell him you'll buy him some DMD shit. Who knows? They probably would. But now the next little bit of news was just kind of like it's like, in other news, water is wet, grass is green, but some Twitch streamer dropped a pretty horrific anti-Semitic slur whilst playing Call of Duty.
Does this have the clip in it? I want to see it.
I believe it does not, because it's pretty bad, but it quotes exactly what he says. Effing cowards, don't effing snipe me, you effing K slur for Jewish people, bitch.
I didn't know what it meant, but I used it perfectly in like the most aggressive way possible.
Exactly. Now, typically this wouldn't be news because Gamer Says Slur is not news. This wasn't just any gamer. This is a Miami Heat basketball player for the NBA named Myers Leonard, which firstly sounds like he's reversed his name.
Imagine like
and
losing
it should be
your
Leonard
whole
Myers.
career because you said a slur in like Call of Duty.
Genuinely baffled that a dude who is an NBA player, like a full athlete with like a lot of Twitch followers, a successful career in basketball, would jeopardize his career by playing a video game online and saying a slur and being stupid enough to get caught doing it. But it takes all kinds, I guess. This is fucking stupid.
It's like that NASCAR
Twitch channel
shit.
Immediately deleted.
It's like the NASCAR
immediately
shit.
Deleted his Twitch. Yes, it is actually just like that. Yeah.
Where like you're just like, oh, this is how they actually are.
Yeah,
in the cars all the time. It's just now it's not in the car, so.
Exactly. So now they've got
drone of
camera
motors
in their face.
Doesn't drown out the slur.
The drone of motors activates the part of their brain that makes them say slurs.
Yeah, it's
though.
true.
Don't you
it's
know how it works?
They're the
it's
victims.
It's not their fault. They're the real victims. So this fucking dumbass, lost his Twitch channel, which had 58,000 followers. That's a pretty handsome follower count for a dude who's not fucking Ninja Tyler Blevins.
You guys can all come to my stream now.
Yeah, hey, we don't say slurs over here. Although we don't play Call of Duty, so also maybe don't. But but at the same time, not only has he lost his Twitch channel, his career with the Miami Heat is pretty much over. The chief was just like, he is going to be away from the team indefinitely.
He needs to take a step back and examine his blind spots.
Yeah. And he put out a very funny apology statement.
Oh yeah, I didn't read it.
Which I will read this in my deeply sorry streamer voice. I am deeply sorry for using an anti-Semitic slur during a live stream yesterday. Well, I didn't know what the word meant at the time.
Bullshit.
My ignorance about its history and how offensive it is to the Jewish community is absolutely not an excuse, and I was just wrong. I am now more aware of its meaning, and I am committed to properly seeking out people who can help educate me about this type of hate and how we can fight it. I acknowledge and own my mistake, and there's no running from something like this that is so hurtful to someone else. It's not a proper representation of who I am, and I want to apologize to the Arisons, my teammates, coaches, front office, and everyone associated with the Miami Heat organization, to my family, to our loyal fans, and to others in the Jewish community who I have hurt. I promise to do better, to know that my future actions will be more powerful than my use of this word. What a shit apology, my guy.
I didn't know what it meant.
So fucking
But you knew
funny.
it existed, which means you knew what it meant. I remember one time I accidentally typoed it, and because I wanted to type like. I typoed the other one, and my friend who was Jewish was like, word. "What?" And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "This is a word against like Jewish people," and I was like, "What?" And they told me, and that was when I was like 13, and it wasn't even on purpose. It was just like a typo, and they were like, "Hey, by the way, maybe careful."
Yeah.
And I was cool.
The K and the L. I get that the K and the L keys are right next to each other, but not in your brain.
No, exactly. That's the thing.
Not in your brain.
You can't typo.
You can't typo a slur with words. You know. So that shit was. Of course, his brother served 2 tours in Afghanistan with the U.S. Marines, wears combat boots and a headphone, and a phone loaded with Navy SEALs who are his friends. That makes fucking sense. Okay, so this dude is just used to being anti-Semitic. That makes sense.
Yeah, he knew
everything has been explained. Mystery solved.
He heard it from his brother.
He heard it from his brother. He heard it from his fucking brother. That makes sense. So yeah, Gamer says slur, not news, really. But this is definitely news.
Other gamers
so everybody's
says even
talking
worse slur.
The even worse slur is Final Fantasy.
Oh god.
So, Apple Arcade, for people who are not aware, is a thing Apple's doing. I don't actually give a shit about it. However, they retroactively made me give a little bit of a shit.
It's longer. It's
actually kind of a lot of a bit of a shit.
It's running better than Stadia, so I'll give them that.
Well, there we go. One of the things that they're doing is they're going to have a bunch of exclusives, basically unlike Stadia. So they're already, you're pretty much ahead of it. But they showed a bunch of clips from different developers in a new trailer, and one of the developers that was collaborating with them was Mistwalker. And for those who don't know what Mistwalker is, that is the studio that is owned and operated by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. Now, he left Squaresoft after directing Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, and it kind of just made everybody not happy with him. But he also was literally the lead creative on like every Final Fantasy game up to 9. And 9 is, like, in my opinion, his magnum opus. That game is, like, defines everything about what an ideal Final Fantasy is, in my opinion. So, like, he really didn't have to do more than that. But he went on and he formed Mistwalker, and Mistwalker has made a lot of games. Some of the more notable ones would be, like, Blue Dragon, which is a collaboration between him and Toriyama, and kind of is like,
wasn't that like an Xbox
kind of
exclusive? Strangely,
it's an Xbox 360 exclusive turn-based JRPG that kind of looks like Dragon Quest, and it's an okay game. It has a Nobuo Uematsu score that rocks really fucking hard. It's like a Nobuo Uematsu doing butt rock, and it sounds so good. It's like crunchy and stupid and so big and dumb and fun. It's a really good OST. He also did Lost Odyssey, which is like low-key one of the best JRPGs of the last 2 decades, but it's locked to the 360, so nobody's played it. It's once again one good RPG and one genuinely like top 5 of all time shit kind of RPG. Like locked to a console that nobody plays RPGs on. But Lost Odyssey is an amazing game, so they made that as well. And that game's kind of like part of the team who made the Shadow Hearts games, and then the people who were developing Final Fantasy, working together on a game that plays a lot like Final Fantasy, and has a really unique story revolving around immortals. And it's really like the main characters are immortals in a Berserk like hyper stylized but semi-realistic dark fantasy setting. And it's really, really cool. Think Berserk meets Shadow Hearts meets Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unique kind of thing that they do. But Mistwalker have made a lot of games recently. Although in the past couple of years, they've been mostly making mobile games. And so this new game that they're working on for Apple Arcade, it makes sense. It's a game that you can play totally by touch controls. It's called Fantasian. And the thing about Fantasian is that, unlike these other Mistwalker games, all of the game's locations, all of the visuals in the game that are not characters, are dioramas, real physical dioramas that are built and photographed at every angle. And I cannot even describe how cool this looks properly.
No, it's really...
To see a game with physically built sets as the location.
Like, even in the trailer, you're like, what the fuck is happening? It's so good. They show how these things look, and it's amazing. And the game is, like, by all evidence, just your typical kind of turn-based JRPG, the kind of stuff that, like, Sakaguchi is basically known to make. Yeah.
But every single physical location in the game, every single location in the game is a physical set photographed from every angle. And the game literally implements like cinematographic camera work to like rotate the camera around the set to give the character the illusion of moving around like a 3D space that's fully like, fully physically there.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks so crazy. I can't even begin to describe how good those locations look. And it's amazing. You should see. There's a really good Vice article on just like them interviewing Sakaguchi about his influences, talking about how he was actually a huge fan of Gunpla, and so he has like all these old Gunplas, and he used to build Gunpla all the time, and he would paint them and airbrush them himself. So he's kind of an old hand at putting shit together physically. Like, he's really into that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody isn't aware, Sakaguchi lives in like part-time in Hawaii, part-time in Tokyo. So he's got a really interesting kind of laid-back personality for like a Japanese dev. Like, he's really into surfing, and he's kind of like a weird, like he's like a very Hawaiian kind of feeling dude. Like, wears Hawaiian shirts, surfs, and builds Gunplas kind of dude. And you can see that chill influence in like a lot of his games, but it's super present in the kind of shit that he's doing here, where it's just this, putting together this, what I can imagine, a painstaking amount of sets just to like build a game to fit into it. Seems like something that you'd only do if you found that an extremely meditative process,
Yeah.
But and I can't imagine COVID has been easy on the development of this game, considering how much time they physically have to spend together in a workshop building this shit. But if you guys are interested in like practical special effects at all, and dioramas and whatever, like if you're into tokusatsu and you love all those beautiful physical sets they build, or like model training and stuff like that, or building dioramas for wargaming, like this is the sort of shit you want to check out. It looks so cool. Even if the game itself just ends up kind of being like your run-of-the-mill JRPG, the appeal of this design philosophy alone makes me think it's gonna be worth playing. It looks amazing. There's like an airship that they've built physically, and it looks crazy. I can't believe that they're doing this. It's so impressive. So Fantasian, Sakaguchi making another RPG, but it looks very cool and wild.
Do you mind if we bounce these last ones?
I was gonna say we don't need to mention these last things. I can just say super quick that it's super fucked up when the publisher that you have cut ties with illegally hacks you and posts your game on Steam without your consent. That sucks.
Yeah, and then that you are, as the developer, forced to use DMCA's to remove your own game.
Yeah, your own game,
which was stolen from you. It's a very strange. Yeah, the Sinking City
fucked up.
News is goofy.
Yeah. Look up what happened to the people who are working on the Sinking City.
We'll talk about it more next week.
Got fucked.
I'm falling asleep right now.
Yeah, it's pretty... And we've had a long episode, tired. So we're going to call it quits for today. That was a good chat about a lot of cool RPGs and one mediocre, disappointing adventure game.
The fucking diorama shit looks just so good, though. I can't wait
you guys,
see that fucking game.
I urge you... I think I'll link the Vice article in the video description.
Yeah.
I can't
imagine
really check
it will
out.
only live on the Apple Store, though. Like, it's
no, I feel like once the exclusivity contract moves after a year or something, we're gonna get this on Switch. We'll get this on PS3 and PS5, and the Xbox and stuff like that. But it's gonna be pretty crazy. Backwards compatibility on that one, PS3. Just like the Sakaguchi games that were never able to be on the PS3, like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. Yep. But yeah, I guess until next week, guys, take care. My name is Ryan. You can find me all over the internet at Nouveau Art Punk on all social media. You can read my Letterboxd reviews on Letterboxd. If you want to read my final thoughts on WandaVision, you can read them there. Spoilers. It was okay. I liked it, but I have some criticisms.
It made Kevin Smith cry, but I think Kevin Smith is a huge hack now.
I don't know if he's I don't think he's necessarily a hack. I think he's really just kind of easy to impress. I think that's more what it is.
I think it's less he's easy to impress.
He's just kind of
I think it's more
he's kind of a mark for his shit.
Getting invited to events.
I mean, hustle. If I was him, I'd do the same thing. If I was him, I'd do the same thing. Not gonna lie. If I wanted to go do comics and shit, but he is also making that He-Man TV show on Netflix, which apparently is gonna look and sound very good. So
we'll see.
I'm impressed to see how that turns out.
I wonder how many Star Wars references he'll get into that.
I will say, Kevin Smith as a comic book writer, consistently very good. So and he hasn't written a comic in a little while. But I've always said his run of Green Arrow is one of the best. So if you want to read something good by Kevin Smith, read Green Arrow. His run of Green Arrow rules. It's fucking awesome. And his beautiful artwork. Yes, you can find me all over the internet at Nouveau Art Punk. Read my thoughts on WandaVision. And that is all I have to offer the world. What about you, Ben? Where can people find you on the entire net of inters?
I'm Scratch Me Silly everywhere. So like Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm working on a bunch of videos, and I'm streaming like at least once a week now, so that's pretty cool. I might not stream this week. If I do, it'll be like in the weekend. It will be continuing Life is Strange until that's over. I will stream fighting games again at some point when I have more time to stream and more energy. But till then, I think I'm just going to focus on like a game and just play fighting games on my own time. After Life is Strange Episode 1, I'm going to be doing Dark Souls 3. So that should occupy a large amount of time afterwards.
Sure.
Allowing me to work on a couple of projects and finish the editing pipeline that has been blocked up for a bit now.
Yeah. Well, you've been moving and shit, so you haven't had a lot of time to sit down on top of work and all of that fucking crap.
Yeah.
But you will have content out soon, and the content that's there, it's good. It's good content.
Yeah, if you like shit posts, you can check out my YouTube.
Gotta say, best Star Wars toy video I've ever watched.
It's very good.
Ain't never seen a better one than that. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode of GamePunx for our 30th episode. And until the next time you hear us, have yourselves a good week. Stay safe from COVID. If you're able to get your vaccination soon, go and get that shit done. Hustle, because that's going to be good to have. it'll make everything easier for everybody. But yeah, if you're not, just stay safe, obey protocols, and wear your fucking masks, please. For Christ's sake, wear your masks.
And remember, women belong in the kitchen if they want to follow a career in culinary school or whatever.
We totally forgot to mention that. Look up what Burger King put on
talked
International
about that at
Women's
the beginning,
Day.
I think.
Did we? We might have. At any rate,
this is an embarrassing ending. The viewer, will know more than us.
GamePunx said, "Women belong in the kitchen."
True.
This is the decree of. Can we say that it was GamePunx UK that said that?
I almost kind of just want to tweet it out and then subtweet it and be like, no, really.
Jesus Christ!
And then at BK
you have a bad habit of doubling down, so don't.
Yes.
When somebody questions you on it, it's gonna be like, no, actually.
No, I said what I said.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you for listening.
Hey, I'm here with Hironobu Sakaguchi-san, the creator of Final Fantasy, and he has something very important to say.
I like 9, of course.